like to invite back um, our other speakers, Ma'am Bridge and Attorney Mikey, to help to join us in the Q&A session. So, all right, okay. So before we go to our advanced questions, just a couple of questions from me because a couple of things like piqued my interest. No, so the first one. So you mentioned that top line has two like major the parts of the business, right? So the commercial fuel trade, which is about like 98%, and the retail fuel trade, right? So my question is, which one are you more bullish about going forward? And is there an ideal, split that you're aiming for towards the medium term?
Yeah, actually, that's an interesting question, Charles. I mean, if you look at the expansion strategy for top line for the past several years, it's more closely knitted with commercial fuel trade or industrial trade, which is, as what you mentioned, the B2B, no? So for us, for light fuels, we just recently opened light fuels, and we have several stations right now in the pipeline, which is opening in operation. We're actually bullish on two fronts. So we want to expand the retail side, which is light fuels, the light fuels brand. That's why part of the IPO proceeds is basically, well, almost majority of the IPO proceeds is focused towards expanding the brand of light fuels and top line. So if you look at the proceeds right now, there's actually an allocation of 20 more stations now for light fuels. So that's basically the focus in the group. And if you look at industrial fuel trade or CFT, it's still part of the expansion program because there's still a lot of market that we can also tap here in Central Visayas. So basically, we're making sure that we're growing on both fronts.
So both you're definitely excited about both parts. Okay.
Yes.
Another question for me. So you've shown incredible performance the last 3-4 years. How are you able to do that? I guess, right? Because we'd imagine, like, please help us, see the picture, because we imagine that, maybe the industry, is it already competitive or already mature? So how are you able to get a bigger share of the pie and record those strong growth rates the last 3 years?
Yeah, well, aside from not sleeping, Charles, aside from not sleeping and making sure that we have enough coffee to power up, but what we're doing is basically making sure that there's a natural progression in the group. So what do we mean by that? So basically, when we started top line now a couple of years ago, especially for the fuel segment, it was really more of a buy and sell thing. We buy low, we sell high, and then eventually we get the margins. And then as we grow a little bit bigger, because we didn't have tanker trucks at first, we had to lease, we had to basically rent. And then as we grow a little bit bigger, and then we saw the potential of additional growth and basically making sure that customer service is at the heart of our growth strategy. So we invested with more infrastructure, so different supply chains. So basically right now, we did the buy and sell for a few years, and then we reevaluated our game plan. And then we said, oh, guys, I think we need additional tanker trucks just to make sure to sustain our momentum. And so we added more infrastructure, and then we added more back-end system. That's why our delivery system is very, very efficient. It's about 24 hours, Ma'am Bridge, the turnaround time, which is quite fast in the industry. So what we're doing is we're adding bits and pieces to the system, and by adding to those bits and pieces, it gave us more opportunity to expand and to cater to additional customers. So it's not an overnight thing, but we're just quite happy that we have the people there to guide us. So again, as what we've presented earlier, we got a lot of talent from the industry, to guide us expand. So we got people from, of course, from the industry, like sila Alvin, sila Dwight, and everyone that's basically giving us more input and insights.
All right,
So,
all right. So it's all about execution. It's all about efficiency. Yeah.
yeah, and not sleeping, Charles.
And not sleeping. Never forget. Don't sleep. Okay. All right. Okay. Now, at this point, allow me to move on to the advanced questions that our audience sent. We've received obviously a lot of questions, so we've grouped them, the similar questions, right? And so can we go to our first question, please? All right. So what's your company's story? Right. So maybe you could just like briefly mention how it's all started, what's the background, and what is the top line's business strategy, current business strategy, its role in Central Visayas, and what can investors expect?
Okay. I'm Brigitte, Atty. Mikey. Just add, I'll just go first if it's fine.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Okay. So well, basically, as what we've presented earlier, again, top line is actually a third generation. We're the third generation in the family. So so top line is also into real estate. We're also into mall development. We're into energy, tech, and right now, one of our core businesses is liquid fuel, no, or distribution. So so basically it started there, and then eventually, since we're also operating different ports, no, and for the family, so we saw that we saw this opportunity because one of our malls has a port at the back. So we said, oh, there are different tanker trucks that's refueling the vessels in the port. And then we said, oh, maybe how about we try refueling those vessels? Just to try, maybe it's a good business model. And then eventually we said, oh, I think it's fine. And then we slowly expanded to different areas in the market. So right now, if you look at our pie in top line, it's such as the market segment. So we don't want to be concentrated with one pie, no, with one segment in the market. So if you look at our market segment, there's shipping, there's construction, there's white station, there's different kinds of segments, and you want to make sure that it's all healthy, because we've experienced before during COVID. Let's say, for example, transportation, you can't move, you have a problem with the segment of transportation. So now we want to make sure when we expand top line, there has to be a healthy pie. So that's what we're doing. That's basically one of the strategies that we're doing in Central Visayas. So they always usually when we have certain road shows, they always ask us, so what's your expansion programs in top line? Is it really focused on Cebu or just a certain area of Cebu? We said it's actually we're focusing in Central Visayas because again it's a ₱1 trillion economy. It's so huge, no, for Central Visayas. So Bohol is there. There's the northern part. So there's a lot of things that we are strategizing in top line. And what we're doing right now is we're just making sure that we're focused on that strategy.
Yeah. So, like looking at Cebu, because we've mentioned Cebu already a couple of times, and Central Visayas in more generally. Do you think that this space or this region is like, less competitive compared to, for example, NCR? Is that a fair assessment?
Well, so far that's how we see it. There's still blue skies here in Central Visayas or Cebu. So what we want to do here, again, we also get these questions if we would want to expand outside Central Visayas, not to other islands. And then we said again, the growth trajectory is quite nice here in Central Visayas, quite bullish, and we're in that sweet spot, that economic sweet spot here in Central Visayas. So we want to saturate that market first, and hopefully we can also, well, we'll see, no, we'll see. Eventually we can probably expand to other islands, but right now the focus right now is basically this region.
I see. That's very clear. Focus on Central Visayas first. Okay. Let's go to our next set of questions. What makes your business model, so this is from Jeffrey and 3 others, what makes your business model different from other listed gasoline retailers? So we have a couple, right? We have Petron, Shell, and the others. So what makes Topline different, in your opinion?
Yeah, actually, Charles, we're we're basically ano yan, there are a lot of giants in the industry din eh.
Yes,
So
yes.
we're also mindful of that. So we're a small basically we're a small player in terms of the size of other giants in the industry. That's why for us in top line, we want to target a niche market, that niche market strategy, because basically the other players has their own market, and then for us in top line we have that niche market. So as what was discussed earlier, about 68% of registered motorcycles or motor vehicles in Central Visayas are actually motorcycle drivers. And if you zoom out a little bit farther, if you look at the whole country, 58% are motorcycle drivers. So basically, if you go back to Cebu, if you zoom into Cebu again, about 68%, we're catering to that niche market, which is the motorcycle vehicles. That's why if you look at the Light Fuels brand, it's so nice, it's so unique, it's catering to that market. And basically, when we were expanding the Light Fuels Express brand, we're not expanding. We're calling it like a supermarket, no, like a bigger chunk of the property, about 1,000. We're expanding a little bit smaller, maybe 500 square meters or smaller, to make sure that we're like a convenience store expansion program. So we're like a convenience store expansion program for Light Fuels. So that's basically the value proposition that we're giving to our investors, to our customers, to our shareholders. So we're very, very excited to cater to that market.
If I may add, Sir Erik and Charles.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I'd like to answer this question in terms of financial performance. So as I mentioned earlier, we even outpaced our listed peers in terms of year-on-year net income growth. So aside from our business model of targeting a niche market, as mentioned by Sir Erik, our track record of strong growth and performance also differentiates us from these other listed gasoline retailers.
Okay. All right. So you mentioned, so I'm just very, very curious now, because you've already mentioned a couple of times your niche market, motorcycles. So without giving away your secret sauce, like how exactly do you target motorcycles? I mean, you mentioned a while ago, you make sure it's fully covered so you don't get wet, and maybe smaller stations. But are there anything else that you can share that for us to really appreciate how different you're approaching it?
Actually, that's a very, very good question, Charles. Because we're, again, at the end of the day, fuel is fuel.
Yeah.
So again, what's the value proposition for the top line? So what we're doing now is we're making sure that there's a really high level of service that we're giving to our customers, and we're adding more services in the station to cater to that niche market play. So what do we mean by that? We're launching it pretty soon. Hopefully after the listing, we're launching a very new, a fresh service in the Light Fuels brand, and we're very excited to show it to the public soon.
All right. I'm excited to see that. Okay. Let's go to our next question. Okay, what is the company's plan for future-proofing, namely for the EV segment, from Emil? And maybe you could talk about the 5-year development roadmap of the company.
Yeah, sure. Brigitte, you want to take that?
Yes, thank you, Sir Erik. Thank you, Sir Charles. So basically, the company's plan for future-proofing. So we're already preparing our retail stations actually to future-proof them. So we have EV charging at some locations. We have solar panels. Now, it's quite interesting because a lot of people keep asking, EVs coming into the market. How will this affect you as a competitor? Will this lower your sales? So we're actually, EV actually will complement, kasi it's a good addition to the, to the consumers, so now they can choose between liquid fuel or EV cars. Now, for the retail side, we're actually happy that EV is coming in, so that gives the consumers more options. In terms of the industrial side, it's actually pretty solid. It will have a good runway. because in the near future, we don't see any vessels or any ships having electronic options. So we believe we're pretty secure naman in that side.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Yeah, that's very interesting because usually the call of traditional fuels, like declining in the near future, ang tagal na niyan sinasabi, but it's never really coming. And I agree with you 100% that for the industrial segment, it's really hard to imagine it happening anytime soon. But of course, even if it does happen, it's good that you also mentioned that you're flexible enough, right? I guess that's one of the advantages of being a young company, unlike the other maybe fuel retailers who have a bigger, legacy business to protect. You guys, you can just choose to be like flexible and adaptable to whatever the customer needs, right? So is that a fair assessment? No? So both meron pa naman or for particularly for the industrial side.
Yeah,
and at the
that's
same
actually,
time, yeah.
yeah, thank you, Charles. That's actually pretty accurate. Like we're very nimble, so we're actually very responsive to the industry. So when our customers give us feedback, we collate this feedback. We actually get feedback from customers on a daily basis, especially the retail side. So then we also have our weekly meetings. So then we respond to those needs immediately. That way we get our customers happy. So we increase our customer base as well as retain existing customers. So those are our twofold strategy.
All right.
Yeah, in fact, if I may add, Ma'am Bridge, that's why they keep on asking us, so what's the game plan for top line? And what's the mindset for top line? So for us, Charles, what we're looking at is we always feel like a startup company. So basically what we want to do is to get more information in, get more feedbacks, just to make sure that our processes and our systems are aligned in the industry, and hopefully innovate even more. So what we're doing right now, even in our organization, it feels like we're still a startup company. That's what we're doing.
Yeah, I think that's why you don't sleep. All right. Okay. Do you want to answer like the 5-year development roadmap of the company? Anything specific you'd like to share there?
Well, it's still basically more of vertical integration, just to make sure it's more efficient. Because again, if you look at our track record, we've been growing quite substantially for the past several years. And well, hopefully we can also replicate that or even surpass that in the next 3, 4, or 5 years. So we're hoping to replicate that growth trajectory. And right now, what's important is since we're growing, you want to make sure that our processes, our systems are in place to accommodate that growth. So that's basically the mindset right now.
Yeah, that's interesting, no? Because you mentioned vertical integration to be more efficient, and what's interesting is that currently I believe that your margins, for example, are even higher. Is that correct? Are higher than the bigger players in the industry? Is that correct? And how are you able to do that? I guess.
Well, basically there are a lot of strategies in place. So let's say, for example, in terms of pricing, there's of course there's spot pricing, there's MOPS pricing. So there's different kinds of pricing. And what we want to do basically right now is to make sure that everything is aligned. So efficiency would come into play, Charles, because if you save a little bit, over time, when you save a certain amount over time, it basically compounds.
Yeah.
So those savings compounds, and that's basically one of the key strategies that we're doing.
All right. Okay. So vertical integration and expansion. No? So I think a while ago, I think you mentioned, no? So it caught my so importation, integration, expansion. No? So parang, that caught my eye. All right. Let's go to the next set of questions. Do you guys have any growth targets for the medium to long term? So from Moises and 2 others.
Well, right now it's still the same. We're hoping that we can grow at the same pace that we're growing for the past several years. That's basically the game plan of the team. And well, every time that we have our meetings, our monthly operational meetings, we just want to reassess certain industries so that we can even penetrate further. So that's still the positioning over time. So we're hoping that we can replicate our growth strategy for the past several years.
And Charles, if I may add,
Go ahead, attorney.
from a financial standpoint also, currently our gross profit margin and net income margin stand at 8.9% and 3.7%. I think this also addresses some of the questions in the Q&A. But with the expanded network, we hope to sustain or even hopefully improve our margins, especially when the importations come in and when our volumes increase and we improve operational efficiencies. So with that, we hope to achieve economies of scale as we grow and expand our network.
All right. Okay. Next question. Is there a dividend policy currently? If so, could you please provide details? So payout ratio, timeline, etc. From Angelo.
If I can take this, Sir Erik?
Yes, please.
We do have a dividend policy, and I think it's also stated in the prospectus. So historically, we have declared stock dividends to our shareholders in the past, but for the IPO, we have adopted to maintain an annual dividend payout ratio of up to 30% of the prior year's net income of the company.
All right. That's great. That's great to hear.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I think if I may, Charles,
Go ahead. Sure.
I think it's also important to also understand that there's also some, of course, other companies are also giving out special dividends. So again, aside from the usual dividends, so we're also looking at certain, special dividends. Hopefully, in the future.
All right. Thank you. And then the last question, I think this is my favorite, very straightforward for us investors. So why should we buy top line? I guess from John Pierre.
Yeah, grabe naman to na question, Charles.
Straightforward.
Yeah, well, basically, our track record has been there for the past several years, and we're very, very happy with that. We've been growing a CAGR of 53%. Net income growth has been very, very fantastic. It's about 157% compared from the year before. And in fact, again, there are a lot of different investors, I would assume, Charles. I mean, there's investors that would think about capital appreciation. There are investors that's looking at dividend play. But we hope here in top line, we can probably, hopefully, we can do both. So we're hopeful. And again, for the market, the existing market for top line, which is our main market, Central Visayas, has been growing steadily for the past several years. So there's still a lot of room for growth for the company to penetrate different areas in our current region.
Erik, if I may add also, thank you, John Pierre, for the question. It's a very straightforward question. Why should you buy top line? I think for us, we've been having a very strong performance over the course of the last few years. We have a very strong plan for the next 5 to 10 years. We're very focused on our investors, on our growth story and our potential. So we have a very good strategy to keep our volume, our profit, our revenues up. So I guess the bottom line is, because I'm also an investor, so the first thing I look at when I invest in a company is the company's track record, right? So if I see that this company has a good potential for growth, then I'm more inclined to buy. So I guess the bottom line is, why should you buy top line? It's because of the very strong potential we still have for growth. Thank you.
All right. Okay. So I think that's the last for advanced question. But before we go to the live question, I just want to ask one thing. So because we've mentioned a lot of the strategies, the advantages of buying top line or investing in top line. On the other side, what are some risks that you'd like to, that keep you awake at night, that you like to highlight?
Well, I think if you're a business owner, Charles, usually you always want to make sure that you're always at par with the trend of the industry. Because that's what they say, the trends are your friends.
Yeah.
So basically for us, we want to make sure that we're always doing our research, innovation, and everything, just to make sure that we're aligned with the industry. If not aligned, but hopefully higher than industry standard. So for us in top line, we're always very mindful. That's why when we saw that opportunity before, when we incorporated light fuels, it's actually Light Petroleum Corporation before, and then we saw the emergence of EVs. We said, guys, oops, I think we have to make sure that our strategies are aligned in the market. So we changed the name from Light Petroleum to Light Fuels Corporation to make sure that the EV strategy or the future-ready approach is there. So these are things that we're very, very keen in spotting. And we hope that, again, we just want to make sure that we're giving the best to our investors, to our customers, and especially the market.
I like it. I like it. I like the answer. No? Can I just zoom in a bit further? No? So just zooming in on, in particular, when it comes to the peso volatility, the exchange rate volatility, and in terms of interest rate impact, currently interest rates are still high. How does this impact, or how big of a worry are these things to you? And also fuel prices, of course, fuel volatility.
Yeah, so basically, since we have a very good pricing team, no, and the pricing strategy and the team, so it would really depend on certain market conditions. So an example would be since the market right now is quite unique. Now, given the current circumstance, I think there's a funny joke about when you wake up in the morning, you only think about one person. It's not your wife. It's not your kids. You're actually thinking about Trump, what he's going to do in the next day. so basically, yeah. So basically, right now, with those certain market conditions, you have to make sure that pricing is aligned in our market and in our industry. So for us, what we're doing, I know again, there's a lot of strategies in place to make sure that we're insulated in that market. And of course, because I also saw the campaign of President Trump, he's really a little bit pro fossil fuel. He said, drill baby drill or something. So that's why prices right now are a little bit softer. No? It's probably better for inflation. Well, I'm not an economist, but it's basically better for inflation. No? So there are a lot of market factors in the mix, and especially because the Philippines is a net importing country at the end of the day. So we have to be mindful on several factors. No?
All right. Okay. So yeah, we have now to go to the live questions. So I hope you guys can extend a little bit past the 3 o'clock, if that's okay. So that we can answer a lot of questions. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So let's go to our live questions. Okay. From no name. Okay. So you plan to mostly increase the number of service stations, aka gas stations, and mainly in Cebu, right? How do you plan to address competition with other fuel companies like Petron? Is your diesel and gas prices cheaper?
Okay. So for us, when we expand the Light brand, we're not really thinking about pricing as the main strategy to get more market share. No. So what we want to do here is to differentiate ourselves in terms of the level of service and the different services that we cater, that we give to our stations. So a perfect example right now, we just recently launched the Light Rewards program. Now here in Light Fuels or Top Line. So again, it's not just any other Light Rewards program. You can download the app, and then when you go to the station, you get refueled, and then you get the points, of course. But the beauty for Light Rewards, those points can be converted to vouchers. So what do you mean by that? So the vouchers, aside from redeeming discounts from our stations or the service stations, you can also, since Top Line has other subsidiary and affiliates in Central Visayas and other islands. So basically what they can do, they can also redeem, since we're automating, example, the South Bus terminal, not the only land, the two land ports in Cebu, South and North Bus. So when you go to the app, you can redeem the voucher. You can basically get a free ride from the south bus to the south area using the Light Rewards. So that's basically catering to the top line ecosystem, what we're doing. So there's a lot of different technologies in play, but that's just one example what we're doing.
All right. Okay. Next question, please. With the world moving towards green energy and 97% of the business depend on commercial fuel, do you see any threat to the future or possible changes in future-proofing the plan, like what you started for light fuel from Amit?
Ma'am Bridge, you want to have this or?
Yes, Eric. Yeah, this is a very good question. So the world is indeed gearing towards green energy, but we believe there is still a lot of room for growth for liquid fuel and fossil fuel, especially, BP transitioned back into liquid fuel, fossil fuel, so it veered away from its renewable energy position. So with the Philippines being, a third world country, we don't have the infrastructure just yet to make a full transition to green energy. We believe that there's still a huge runway for liquid fuel as of now.
Yeah, so yeah, if I may add, Ma'am Bridge, so as the Philippines is growing, like I think that the government right now is targeting about 7% of GDP, if I'm not mistaken, 6-7% of GDP growth for this year. So as the Philippines is growing rapidly, we may need more sources of energy. So may it be liquid fuel, may it be renewables, clean energy, and everything else. So it's also important to understand that all of the infrastructure has to be in place for us to grow at that certain level in the GDP level for the Philippines. So for us, if you look at the top line, you're correct. It's about 97%. That's why we understand that in the future for shipping companies or other industrial equipments, we don't see that changing soon in terms of using EV technology, because these are hardcore industrial equipments. So that's basically what we're looking at. Unlike if you look at the light fuel segment or the retail, there's going to be basically a parallel move into EVs, into fossil, into hybrid. So that's what we're seeing right now in the industry. That's why when we saw when we saw that industry study report, in terms of growth trajectory in the Philippines, there are 3 growth trajectory: high, medium, and low. Even at the lowest growth trajectory, there will still be a substantial increase of demand in the liquid fuels segment.
All right. I think that's very clear, no? So yeah. So might be a little too, exaggerated when we say the demise of the traditional fuels. Okay, so I've been browsing through like a lot of the questions in the Zoom Q&A tab, so 50 plus questions, no? But a lot of the people are still asking about dividends. I know we've mentioned it a while ago already, like 30%, right? Correct, diba? It's 30% payout ratio, and so just to put it like straightforward, may dividends next year, I guess, after we list, I guess. Is that fair? Would you like to add anything?
I know. Well, we're hoping for that possibility, Charles. So we're hoping. Well, again, there's also a possibility of a special dividend, but not only the usual regular dividend. So yeah, of course, that's going to be one of the for our investors in the near future.
So 30%, the 30% payout ratio, that's for the regular dividends, and on top of that, there's a chance, of course, no guarantees, that there could be special dividend going forward.
Okay. Up to 30%.
Okay, dividend of up to 30%. Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you. All right, can we go to the next question? Have you already talked with potential partner for EV charging to provide the charging infrastructure from Laika?
Derek,
Hi, yeah, hi, Laika,
I-
sorry.
I'm not sure.
Sorry, Rich,
sorry.
sorry,
Go
Sarah,
ahead.
go ahead, please.
Yeah, yeah, of course, we're talking to providers now for the infra. That's why when we expand the light fuels segment or the stations, we want to make sure that the infrastructure is already in place. So once that area is going to be activated, it's basically plug and play for that area.
Okay. Great. Next question. Do we have more questions? I like the niche strategy, cater to motorcycle sector. How does Topline intend to defend this competitive advantage? Like when the competitors start copying this approach from Duron?
Oh, thank you for that, Duron. Well, we actually, aside from the usual niche strategy that we're doing for the motorcycles, we're going to add a different kind of service pretty soon. Just stay tuned for that. Hopefully by next month, we're looking at the infrastructure. We're just making sure that everything is aligned. But basically, we're launching a new kind of service that's going to be something new in the industry, and hopefully, this could be a patent for Topline for this new service.
Okay, that's definitely exciting to hear. Okay, do we have more questions? Okay, do we expect debt to equity ratio to reduce? Do we expect debt to equity ratio to reduce in the coming quarters or years? Or is the company planning to take on more debt to increase capex?
Attorney Mikey, you want to have that?
Yeah, sure. So currently our debt to equity ratio is at, if I'm not mistaken, 68-32. So it's quite healthy. We do try to maintain at least 70-30 of debt to equity ratio. So with the upcoming listing, we do expect debt to equity ratio to reduce, given that the use of proceeds will be allocated to serving or to be allocated for our expansion and expansion plans of the company. So yeah.
Yeah, and if I may add, Attorney Mikey, yeah, we do have a threshold in terms of making sure that our debt to equity is healthy. Now, so what we're checking right now is, given the circumstance that we're expanding, with the use of proceeds, 48% there is the expansion of the service stations, which is light fuels, and then the oil tanker, about 28%. So what we're doing now is we're making sure that all of the proceeds is more of expansion. And if in case we would need to add more infrastructure in place, we'll check in terms of our strategy moving forward. But what we want to do is to make sure that we have a healthy debt to equity ratio.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. I think we have one more question from the audience. Can we see that? What would be the impact to top line profits if oil prices were to rise dramatically?
Well, since we're doing a lot of different pricing strategies, for us in top line, it doesn't really matter if it goes down or it goes up. We just want to make sure that we're implementing more or less the same strategies moving forward. So we don't want to basically hedge ourselves too much. No, when prices goes up or prices goes down, we want to make sure we're in that sweet spot when we're calculating our pricing strategy.
All right. All right. I think that's the last one. Although I want to ask one more question. So pahabol. So so FYI to the audience, no, and I think there's one who asked in the question kung magkakapatid ba raw kayo, no. So so just FYI, so the three speakers we have today are all siblings. So I guess to put it as a question, no. So what do you think, having this dynamic of being a family-run business, you're all obviously very close. And maybe you live in one house, so you can afford to not sleep all at the same time, right? All-nighters every day, right? So I guess but on a serious note, what makes, I guess, the management team or you guys in particular unique? And do you see this as an advantage over the other competitors?
Well, if I may, Ma'am Bridge, Atty. Mikey, it's fine. So that was the hardest question, Charles.
Ano ba, pros and cons ba being siblings? Are there?
Actually, we're very happy that we're working together as siblings. No, just the good thing that they didn't ask one more question. Charles, who's the eldest? That's the hardest question.
Triplets ba? Are all the same age?
So,
I can't tell.
Literal triplets.
Triplets. Let's stick with that.
so we're very happy that we're working together, and at the same time, when we bounce ideas from everyone, everybody gives their own expertise. So let's say, for example, Ma'am Bridge is in operation, Atty. Mikey is basically from finance and the legal aspect. You know, so we have different skill sets, and when we merge our different skill sets, it basically creates a new kind of dynamics. So what we're doing right now is, if it's going to be family time, it's family time. We crack jokes. But if it's professional time in the boardroom, hierarchy, it's professional time. So that's basically how we do our day-to-day, our decision-making process. And what's always important is what's always best for our customers, for our employees, you know, for our investors, for our shareholders, everything. So yeah, that's how we basically do it.
If I may add, Erik, Charles. So I have a fun trivia for you. So we're 5 in the family, 5 siblings. So I'm the oldest. Tapos yung dalawa kay
Yeah, disclose na.
close, ano na, public knowledge. So yung 3rd in the family is si Sir Erik, and then doctor yung kaapat, and then the youngest is Atty. Mikey. So 1st, middle, and 5th. So the interesting thing is yung birthdays namin, I'm August 5, si Sir Erik is October 5, Atty. Mikey November 5. So
wow.
parang so it's really nice when you work together, like what Sir Erik was saying, kasi when we're at home, when we have family gatherings, we really interact as a family, but when we're in the office, we call each other sir, ma'am, Atty. Mikey. We're very professional. And the nice thing about working together is we really focus on our strengths. So see, Sir Erik is the visionary. He expands the company, thinks of how to grow the business. Tapos ako I'm more into operations, and then si Atty. Mike is more into finance. So I think altogether, it's a beautiful blend of how families can also be, bring out the best in each other, not just in the personal environment, but also professional environment. So yeah, we love working together.
All right.
Basta, Charles, ang main point dun, everybody knows our birthdays na, so we expect
Like, maghingi kami ng gift.
All right. Perfect, no? Okay. So, yeah, so thank you very much, obviously, Sir Erik, Ma'am Bridge, and Atty. Mikey. No? So thank you very much. May I get your any closing thoughts for the day before we end? I know overtime na, like, quick thoughts before we end?
Yeah, well, again, we're just very, very happy. Again, COL Financial invited us to this forum, and especially for your viewers, thank you so much for listening. And we're very excited for this listing for Topline and basically the Topline family, and for our investors and shareholders. So thank you very, very much for your support.
All right. Thank you also. Thank you, Sir Erik, Ma'am Bridge, and Atty. Mikey for being with us. I'm sure you're all very busy, so we appreciate your presence here today.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Take care.
Charles.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
All right. So to wrap things up today, we heard about who Topline is, not just its business model, but also the people behind the company. We were able to discuss its plans and strategies for the future, as well as the risks going forward. All these factors will help shape the company's story for the years to come. I'd like just to add, on top of all these things, what will determine the success of any young company, or any company for that matter, is in the execution, right? So we mentioned a while ago, efficiency, execution, etc. With this, I encourage everyone to keep track of Topline's progress as they try to maximize their potential going forward. All right. So thank you everyone for watching COL Conversations. Hoping that today's webinar helped everyone in their investment decision. This has been Charles Ang wishing you a good week ahead. See you in the next one.